Hello, good morning. Happy Friday. Oh man. TGIF. Yeah, I hope everyone is doing well today. It's Friday. Current conditions is just to prove how much my body has deteriorated since college. I am still not recovered from the one all-nighter I pulled Wednesday. I had to take a nap yesterday in the afternoon, and and then I woke up late today. I woke up just in time for this stream. Still kind of groggy, having my morning coffee. Um, and man, I'm not even. I like to joke that I'm old, but I'm not even that old. So this is not. It's all downhill from here. I can't even pull one all-nighter, and I just feel the effects for days. Actually, I remember the time when I realized that I just can't drink like I used to was when I had a hangover for 2.5 days, and I was like, oh my God. I didn't know that I could have hangovers for 2.5 days. And that's when I was like, yep, throw in the towel. I have to admit now that my body isn't what it used to be, and I can't just abuse it like I used to. And I need to treat it well. So I guess that's growth. Um, Ooh, hi to Gilliam and hi to Alice. Thanks for joining the chat, and hi Pranav. I always enjoy when you can join on Fridays. And I love Alice says, "Dang, Gilliam, you always beat me." Oh, what? Gilliam says that's because I save time by typing the two-letter message before the stream starts. I always am kind of curious of, um, I know I kind of forget this sometimes, but I enabled ads before the stream, so then it makes me kind of curious. Is it that once I start streaming, you come in and you see ads? Can you still see the chat? Can you still interact with the chat? Or, yeah, I don't actually know. I've never tried. Uh, yeah, so that is the status this morning. I am still not recovered from my one all-nighter. And I don't know if Blue Radon is in here, but I remember, I think then I pulled an all-nighter Wednesday, and then I think I woke up to a message from Blue Radon that was like, oh, I pulled an all-nighter because of our conversation. Um, so that's not what that conversation was meant for. But yeah, so his college life. Um, and he was like, I heard the birds chirping. um, anyways, the other thing, other status for this morning, I guess this is TMI, but my stomach is gurgling a little bit. Not quite sure why. Um, I am a slight bit lactose intolerant, but I like milk products anyways. So we did eat a lot of milk-based things yesterday. Um, and husband is a little bit suspicious of the expired chicken broth he accidentally used yesterday. But yeah, so it was gurgling yesterday, and it's slightly unsettled this morning. So I hope that will go away as the stream progresses. Things you did not need to know. You're welcome. um, oh, that makes sense. So William explains that people who subscribe don't see ads on your stream. And I wonder if that makes a little bit of difference. I don't know why. It would. Yeah. I wonder, do people have plans for the weekend? Are you excited for any of your plans this weekend? I was hoping to be able to join some friends for a picnic, but it is not Actually, it's not even that it's not looking likely. It's just I know it can't happen, and I am very sad. Um, but because um because I am behind on my stories schedule. Uh, and I guess I'll show you why I'm behind. And this is and I'll preface by saying this is why I should not ever work on anything interactive when I'm trying to like churn out one story per day or two. Um, because then I just spend 2 days kind of nitpicking every single little feature and interaction in the thing. Because I'm like, oh, but then like people might use it this way, and this might be like a better use case. Hell, if I'm trying to get out a bunch of charts, I should just stick to static. um, yeah. Oh no. Oh, Viz 2020 is next week. Oh, I've never been. No, it says more homework. Uh, oh, interesting. Christophon says sometimes all-nighters are a good mental health reset. Like it can take you out of a funk. I didn't know that. I don't think I've ever tried that. Ooh, Fractal Teen Dream says, thank you for the reminder, Pranab. Yeah. How is Viz? I hope you have a great time this year. Um, Never been just because I've never done Viz in academia. Yeah. Okay, my brain is slowly starting to wake up-ish. So for today, I have a goal, which is I want to finish the story. Okay, let me just switch to my coding screen so you can see what I'm talking about. So, on, I think, Wednesday, I showed you. Oh, that is. Okay. Yay. So I showed you this on Wednesday, and this was early voting versus election day as a percent of total participation. And so this is where we were at on Wednesday. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm gonna like stop messing around with all the different features, and I'm going to just turn this into a story. And then after we like parted ways Wednesday, after a great conversation, thank you for the conversation. Then I talked to my like consultant advisor, and then I think we started bouncing around like other ideas for kind of how to show this instead. And then I started talking to my husband, who's like a data analyst. And then after a really, really, really long conversation, because he's like, I'm not sure if this actually, I mean, it's really pretty. Oh, he didn't say that. I just said that. I'm just looking at him like, oh, it is quite pretty. But like, I'm not sure if it actually like gets the point that you're trying to get across. And so we like had a really, really long conversation, and we're like, yeah, this isn't the optimal data set or visualization to get the point across. And the point that we're trying to get across is that a point essentially more people vote on election day, and so the polling stations are presumably more crowded on election day than early voting, and that's a huge risk this year, so vote early. And so that was kind of the point we were trying to make with this graphic. And he was like, if you're trying to make that point, like this might not be the right data to make that point. And I started kind of like brainstorming how to go about it. And one of my original ideas was looking at the number of people that voted at a polling station during election day versus early voting. And I originally thought that I couldn't use that idea because it was the ratio was that there were much more people per polling station during early voting than election day. And I was like, oh, that's weird that the data I was like, I guess there's just that many more polling stations on election day, so it really evens it out. And so, like, that's not how I can tell the story. And then when we were talking, I was like, wait. And something he said, like, made me have the realization that, that when I was trying to do that originally, I was going about it the wrong way because during early voting, you have like any number of days that you can go early vote. And so the number for for people that early voted is going to be spread out across multiple days, whereas on election day, you only vote during that one day. So then I realized that the actual formula should be early voting participation. So number of people. So it's number of people per polling station per day. There we go. Number of people per polling station per day. And when I did that, it actually turned out to be exactly what we intuited, which was that many more people are at a polling station. So basically, polling stations are more crowded during election day than early voting. And it is 13.2 times more crowded on election day than early voting. And so that's kind of like, then Wednesday night, I was like, cool. And like, got this data set and this visualization going. And I also added in a bunch more drop downs that you definitely don't need. Although this one is nice because then instead of trying to hover over every single line, you can just say, I want to look at, like, I live in California and I'm also interested in, I don't know, let's say like North Carolina. I want to compare the two or something. And then it just like finds it for you, so you don't have to like keep searching for it. So that's a feature I'm proud that I put in. So basically, I spent all of yesterday. So I spent Wednesday like updating the data, and then I spent yesterday putting in features that people may or may not actually need. um, but one of the things that I was trying to figure out for the story was if there's a correlation between how crowded a polling station is versus median household income or percent people of color. Just because one of my advisors, he has a theory that in certain states, so let me actually go and find in Florida, for example, that more communities of color vote early. So actually there are so this is Florida. Florida is interesting because it has this kind of it peaks on both sides. Like some counties vote more early voting and some counties vote more election day. And so he had this theory that the ones that voted more during early voting are those that are like communities of color, because there are like get out the vote efforts where they encourage he mentioned one called like Souls to the Polls, where they, like, after church they just go straight to the polls and vote, and that's like kind of get out the vote efforts that try to like spread the voting out across like a longer period of time. So didn't know that. That's interesting. And what I learned is, for example, I think in general, it's hard to tell is the thing. So I think I'm not sure if I'm still not 100% certain if there's really a story here of whether, because I think if you go here, then you see it's only really these two communities that voted more during early voting. So I'm still not sure if that's a potential story. I don't know. Oh wait, and I can share this link. Let's see. Crowdiness. um, oh, cloudiness is a better indicator. Hi, Arrhythmia. It is great to have you back in the chat. Hello. Yeah, so for uh oh, so what I was trying to get at is yeah, so I've been spending the last 2 days essentially. I mean, not all the time. I had to take care of other things too, but a lot of the past 2 days just building out this interactive, trying to find a story. So today I'm like, just stop. We're just gonna find the story. You're just gonna tell the story you already have. So that's, I guess, what's happening today. So I was thinking we can go into Illustrator together, and kind of annotate this story, though I am very scared of opening up Illustrator with OBS. So there's that. We shall see. If my laptop starts complaining so much that we can't keep going forward, then I have a backup plan where we work on the gerrymandering project instead, or the gerrymandering story instead. So let's get started. I am going to, first of all, I think what I need to do is I need to adjust this. Because right now this is optimized for if someone visits this on the web, but I need to adjust this to let's see. The Instagram story height. Yeah, let's do that. That is I like that DT you always drop in with the appropriate laptop emote. Ooh, tangent. We're trying out a grocery delivery service, like a local grocery delivery service, and they source from all local farms, recommended by our friend. And one of the things that we got and we're trying is this pumpkin tea cake, and it's so good. We've been having it for breakfast. Yeah, so good. From a farm called Full Belly Farms, I think. I'm very happy with it. So that's what I'll be eating today, I guess. DT says, is it me or is it just the laptop? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Arrhythmia. I really like coming to your stream. I love seeing your process. Wow, thank you. Okay, so this is the dimensions for Instagram. This 1080 by 1350. And then I think what I might do is, so actually, I'm gonna label this part for web, and then this part for Instagram. And then so for the margin, I usually try to leave about 60 pixels. 60 pixels or 80 pixels? hold on, let me double check. Oh, dang it. Oh, there we go. What is the margin I give myself? 60 pixels. Okay. All right. So let's go and give myself 60 pixels. I need to clean up this notebook. Just like the order of cells is all over the place. Yeah, let's give myself 120 for the top so that I have time. I have some room for the text, and then let's see the right. Let's put in 16 and 16. Whoa! It's so tall. Okay, so I think for the very first kind of slide, first like Instagram slide, I want it to go across like 2 images essentially. So I'm gonna do like 1.75, I think, times width. And then I'm going to go to Illustrator, wish me luck. All right, laptop, let's do this. I was thinking that I should definitely look into a PC just for streaming. Hopefully it's not too expensive. I don't think PCs are that expensive. So, oh wait, no, I want to open up. I made a template for this. I love your notes always DT. Is that like two? What are those things? Take NRG. So like two like worshiping. Okay, so I made a template. Except, oh, so it's the template. Okay, come on, laptop. Yes, I need to delete this one because I accidentally started working on this. Yes, okay. So this is my template with guides. And let me rename this. This is my third story. I'll just call it. I am very bad at names, so I'm calling it 3.ai. I do not recommend this. Okay, so now what we can do is go to the Chrome DevTools and, oh no, I lost it. Okay, there we go. And then let's copy over the SVG element. I feel like this is so cool. I feel like, and then you can just copy it over like that. Except for whatever happened here. What happened here? What? Oh wait, let me also not put it on the guides layer. Let me move, make a new layer. Call it 1. Because again, I'm bad at naming things. What happened to that path? That looks perfectly fine. What? Huh. Oh, wait. Hold on. I forgot to update the locations for these axes. Okay, so now I can copy the SVG over. So this has been how I've been making my stories. So weird. Okay. Don't know why that fixes things. Actually, it doesn't look like it fully fixed it. What is going on? That is so weird. Well, I guess. Okay. So I'm gonna delete some things because I feel like I don't need it for the story. Ooh, yeah. So Helium says, you can have an external graphics card, and Alice says we use capture cards if that's helpful. Yeah, I think Nelson, the Pixel Geek, that was helpful. That was kind of um, uh, basically did the rest of the Webflow website with me. He streams regularly also. And he was telling me about his setup, which is an external PC and then I think like a capture card for the desktop and a capture card for I think he has a DSLR. So that and then he has a keyboard that switches between his PC and Mac. Um, I just haven't gotten to it because it just sounds like a lot of work to research and set up. So that's the only reason why I haven't gotten to it yet. I keep being like, like I don't want to invest all that time and money because I don't know where this channel is gonna go. So I'm gonna wait a while. I feel like it's now been a bit, and I feel like this channel is going quite well. Um, and I enjoy the streaming. So it's probably about time to invest a little bit in. And I feel like I've been saying this for like a month. Uh, but then I keep being like, okay, I'll try for like another 3 months and see what happens. I think my biggest fear currently is that it's been really easy to keep up the schedule during right now when most of us are still kind of coming in and out of quarantining or shelter in place. And it's not like I have any travel plans. The first time when I streamed in 2017, the reason why I stopped was because of just like like the traveling I was doing, and then I moved to a different country for like a few months, and so it was hard for me to get back up and running with like I just didn't have a good setup when I was in Tokyo, and so that's my fear of like once we once I start traveling again, like if I can keep up the schedule still. Um, but you know what? The way that it's currently projected for the US, I don't know if we can get traveling for another year, so I guess I'm not gonna be around for another year at least. Um, oh, thank you, Arrhythmia. What's your program? So Arrhythmia says that in one of my talks I mentioned, or like that they watched one of my talks and where I mentioned the importance of starting a project with a curiosity. And they say, I wish more students in my program understood that. Data science. Ooh, are you a like one of the instructors or are you one of the students? Oh, Gilliam says for I'm guessing the external graphics card, it's called eGPU, but they need Thunderbolt 3. Do I have Thunderbolt 3? Somehow, I doubt this with my current laptop. I guess it all depends on budget and time to research it all. DT says business expense. I feel like, I don't know if this is a common misperception, but business expenses doesn't mean that I get reimbursed for that expense. It just means that I get taxed a little bit less on those. So like I still spend the full amount, and then maybe I like make back 20-30% because I don't get taxed on them, which is better than not making anything back, but it's also like I'm still at a net loss. so so I don't know if it's anything to celebrate. Okay, so which way do I want to put this? Yeah, I'm getting rid of the y-axis also because I think the story, I think what I want to call it is, let me start with the annotations to lay out some ideas. Ooh, but I will. I wonder how many of you use Illustrator? If you use it often. Do you use it often in your work? Oh, okay, so here's the thing that's been very interesting about coding SVG for Illustrator, which is I have to be very mindful of how I group things, because in Illustrator it's so annoying. Maybe I just don't know a better way, but it's so annoying to have to like unpack groups to get to a certain element. So then usually I'll put like text in the same group so that I can whatever I know I want to edit in bulk, I put into the same group. But then I think when I was making that interactive for the web, I just defaulted to the way that I usually organize my DOM elements. And so now my two texts are in different groups, and that's a pain in Illustrator. But that's okay because there's only two of them, so I think I'll just manually, yeah, I'll manually adjust them instead of trying to bulk edit. It's okay. All right, there's early voting, and then I have to like then sounds bold. And let's get it. Did I say 22 just now or 24? Was it 24? I think I did 24 just now. Okay. I do really appreciate all the smart guys in Illustrator. And what I was saying the other day was I really like drawing arrows in Illustrator now. It's like gives me a special amount of joy for some reason. Playfair Black. And I'm going for 60 for the titles. Okay, so this one I'll call it, start with how crowded is a oh, Rhythmia says a student in a data science program, but they're a student in a data science program, and sometimes it feels like some students are in the program because it's quote unquote cool, but aren't particularly curious about data. Yeah, I can totally see that. It's like it's become the hot thing in the last decade to do like a data science program. Although my theory, my personal theory is for those that are in it because it's like the hot thing, like the hot new market to take advantage of, and um, like that it's like the smart career choice or something. And for the people that do that, I feel like my personal theory is that once um, the university classes are overflowing, like once there are so many more, like, how do I describe this? Like, I feel like for any career thing, once there are so many people in the programs, like that the programs can't handle it, then the market is for sure already saturated. Like, so for those people that are trying to get into a market to like take advantage and be like one of the early people in a market, um, if they're getting into it, yeah, I guess I'm just stating the obvious. Like, if they're a student getting into it because they think that they're like gonna be one of the early ones taking advantage, but then it's already too late. I didn't articulate that very well. um, in German, we call this a word that I'm not going to try and pronounce. It's not. It's translated as a milkmaid's account. It just describes a naive calculation. It comes from a girl wanting to sell milk and fantasizing about what she will do with the money and then spills the milk. Oh no! Ooh. Helium says German is an amazing language with the ability to create new words like this. Um, Thank you, Rithia. You're too kind. Didi says it's really fun for German. Oh no. Why does it have to be a girl that's really naive and wanting to sell milk and fantasizing about what she will do with the money and then spilling the milk? Why does it have to be a girl? The most German word is fill in the word that I'm not gonna try and pronounce. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna try. Planfest. Oh no. Planfeststellungsverfahren. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry to TT and everybody German ever watching this. I'm really sorry. But it was kind of fun trying to pronounce it. Actually, I'm gonna call this how much more crowded? How crowded is a polling station during election day versus early voting? There we go. Guess that might be better. Compared to early voting. Compared to? Oh, S is pronounced sh sometimes. Like S is pronounced SH. Hello, Mr. Extremely. Welcome back. Asks, this is your job? Question mark, Shirley. Yes. I guess my job is whatever I want it to be. I'm independent, so I just take on whatever client projects I want. And sometimes I just make personal projects for myself. So I guess yes, this is my job currently. Gilliam, French is so complex. I took it during I had to take it in high school, and I'm sorry, but I retained absolutely nothing. Actually, I think every language where I have to conjugate intimidates me like no other. Um, so I think, do I remember correctly that like it's the Latin-based languages where you have to conjugate? Man, it blows my mind. I can't remember all of. I feel like it's one of those, it's much easier if you grew up with it and it comes naturally. That's my theory. It's, yeah. Like, grammar in Chinese, like tenses in Chinese is quite straightforward. I think actually Chinese grammatically, I think is pretty straightforward. I think. Um, at least the tenses in Chinese is quite straightforward. I think in Japanese the tenses are a little bit more complicated. That one I can't reason out. Like I can't um I I noticed that in Japanese I know the tense to use and the phrasing to use, but I don't know why. And I think I've heard that that's the difference between like if you learned as a native speaker, and so you just get trained to hear like what sounds right and what does not sound right, versus like if you learn academically in like college or something and you're taught all of the like grammar. And so um, I think all I'm trying to say is like out of the languages I know, French was the most intimidating. Probably because I was learning it not as a native speaker, but like academically. And so I had to like learn all of the grammar and it really confused me. Conjugation, just like to this day, I am scared. DT says that the German word describes a process to plan the plan. I love it. Like fest is fest, but Stellung is Stellung. Stellung. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it says the Japanese sentences are quite complicated. I don't understand. Uh, sometimes like so I try to like use random Japanese or Chinese sentences around my husband and he'll be like, especially with Japanese, he'll be like, and sometimes he'll try a sentence and um he'll get it almost correct. Like he'll get the sentence almost correct, but then he doesn't get the tense correct. And then and then I'll like correct him and he'll be like, "Oh, like why do you use the tense like that?" And I'm like, "I have no I have no clue." um I just say what sounds right. I try my best to like explain why and I'm like, "No, I shouldn't explain why because I'm like 99% incorrect." Gilliam says French and Mediterranean languages have roots in Latin and ancient Greek, but German shares an alphabet with different roots. Yeah, DT says some stuff you just don't think about. Yeah, I think I think isn't that why like Duolingo and stuff is all about trying to teach you um a language like as if you're a baby growing up in that country as a native speaker, so they don't concentrate so much on like grammar and stuff, but rather just kind of like having you listen to certain sentences and having you learn like from that way. Yeah, teaching the why is always a hard one. Yeah, definitely. Arrhythmia says one of the hardest things is that it takes a long time to get any kind of intuition for how to say something new. Ooh, what are the German articles? Um, I can totally, whatever it is, I can totally see myself struggling with them. Okay, so what was I trying to get? How crowded is a polling station during election day? Okay. This is where I just play around with placement and be unsatisfied. Oh my god. TT says the difference in German between a sign and a shield are, oh god, das Shield and der Shield. I'm sorry, again. Most difficult in German is really how to break up long words into smaller ones. Why not analyze the crowd space based on states? This way, not only we'll know where the late voting trend is, but also we'll know super spreader events. Oh, wait, I should be clear that this is 2018. So, I mean, obviously, we don't have election day data. Yeah. Police during election day in 2018. I'm gonna say versus early voting in 2018. I don't know what you mean though, Disc Dino, when you say based on states. So, each of these lines are a state. So actually, that's a really good point that I should annotate that. Oh no, it's not your bad at all. It's actually a great point that I forgot to mention. It was 2018 and historical. Okay, so what I'm trying to show is, so then there's early voting here. So I'm going to say that each line represents a state. Each line represents a state. Let me get some thoughts on to the screen and yeah, it is the US election, but election day is November 3rd, so it hasn't happened yet. So this is data for 2018. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. When words are feminine or masculine, made no sense in yeah, it made no sense why a word was masculine or feminine. And that's another thing that intimidated me about French when I was learning it. So the last presidential election was in 2016, but there's actually midterm elections every in between. So 2018 was a midterm election, and that's what this data is from. Hmm. I need colors. Okay. Not the right color. Oh no. What's kurtosis? Look how fun it is to make an arrow. You just pick one. It's so much work in SVG. Oh my god. Oh, it's the peak of the distribution, shows the concentration of data values. In probability theory and statistics, kurtosis, meaning curved or arching from Greek, is a measure of the tailness of the probability distribution of a real valued random variable, like skewness. Kurtosis describes ... probability distribution of a real valued random variable. So I guess that's really interesting. I wonder if this is misleading for to have it in these curves, because then it makes you think of distribution. Well, no, I guess this is technically a distribution of who votes. Yeah, I guess this is technically distribution. I want more crowded up here. Ooh, I like that. I like the all caps look. Okay. Maybe I'll make this bold also. Trying to decide if I should put the more crowded like this, or hold on, let me show you what I have in mind. So I'm trying to do this, and then do I want more crowded and less crowded like this? Well, imagine that they all line up. Let me make them line up. Why aren't you? Are you already lined up? Is that lined up? Huh, okay. Should it be like this? Or do you think the more crowded should be like along the line? I would love your opinion. Like, I feel like this is harder to read. Yeah, that's harder to read. Yeah, that is definitely harder to read. Okay. Yeah. So I think it's better to do it this way. Ooh, hello, Lucid Moon. What a cute Pikachu. Thank you. Choosing colors is like, I spend so long choosing colors. And any of these. Since yeah, so that's what I was trying to um that's what I was trying to show with this one, that in a lot of states historically people vote on election day. So I'm glad that that's coming across. I am a little bit worried about how I'm chopping it up into two Instagram slices. And so people will only see, like, essentially, people will only see this side first. So this is what people will see first. And then maybe they'll be like kind of confused. And then they slide over and they'll see this. And that might still be confusing. Although, I think the fact that it curves up like this, maybe that's okay. Maybe people will get the idea that like it curves a lot more on election day. And then after these two slides, I'll compress this into just like one slide. But I kind of like the idea of like showing only part of a graph first. So there's like quote unquote a little bit of like mystery, and then you go to the other side and then it reveals the rest. I kind of like that idea. So that's what I'm trying to play around with. No, so high altitude Cherenkov. This is actual data. So this is actual data from 2018. Um, yeah. Um, ooh, hello. Hi, Michael Alcapane. Welcome back. I hope it is. Oh my gosh, is it beautiful in Dublin right now? It's like what, late October? Oh my God, every place with seasons. It must be beautiful right now. I miss like, oh, I totally had a dream that like I was somewhere with these beautiful um trees with leaves that were changing colors. So the leaves were like orange. Um Man, subconsciously and consciously, I really miss seasons. Mm, oh, oh yeah, that's right. I have my color palette. I have an updated color palette um selector, I guess, which is, oh, actually no, these are for client color palettes, so I shouldn't show that. Anyways, I ported over the color palettes into observable so that now I just like um I just choose my colors in there. But it's essentially the same kind of concept where um I use chroma to come up with a color scale and create my color palette. I'm not quite sure what you mean by heavy smoothing, high altitude turn on. Um, hmm. Oh yeah, the data Lucent Moon is from two different sources. One is called Eves, and it is the stands for Election Administration and Voting Survey. So it is self-reported data from each state, which means that um, depending on which column, there's a lot missing from some states. Like Alabama. I've noticed Alabama never gives, I shouldn't say never, Alabama gives very little data. Like, Alabama didn't have any, like, voters removed data, I think rejected mail in ballots data. Um, didn't, I don't even know if Alabama had reported for this. No, they didn't. Look at that. Alabama never reports the details. Very fishy. Um, so that's one part of the data set, and the other half is from Ballotpedia, where I got the dates for early voting. So those are my two data sources for this. Um, oh man. Michael says, quite stunning in Dublin, cold but gorgeous autumn colors. Lurped. Haven't heard that word used in this context before. Leaves lurped from green to red all over. I love that usage. Um, oh, thank you for sharing all of the links, Gillian. Oh no, I haven't seen any of the visualizations from DJ Patil. Let's see, DJ Patil. What a name, DJ Patil. Hmm. Oh, is he the one that did the LinkedIn social graph? Cool. Oh, I see what you mean, high altitude. Um, so, um, yes, I guess it's because there's only two discrete points. So there's only early voting and election day, and that's probably why it looks so smooth. It is how people behave, but it's not a continuous time on the x-axis. So it's only two discrete points in time on the x-axis. Hmm. I'm not sure how to tell this story yet. That's the problem. High altitude. I wish there was some sort of detailed wait time per hour on the day and then early votes per day or week. I wish. I wish we could get that sort of data. Hmm. Yeah, that's a fair point, Gilliam. Yeah, I do have that concern. High altitude. Yeah, you both have a good point about the x-axis. And actually, that's something that my husband mentioned too, that the fact that it starts from zero and ends at zero is misleading. So, part of what I wanted to show, this is essentially just a glorified slope chart. Because what's actually important is um, what the line looks like. Here, let me take out extra line. What the line looks like between this early voting here and election day. So actually, that's really the slope of that is really the only important part. But then I wanted to visually kind of like the end point of this is about flattening the curve for this year of kind of the just go vote earlier so that uh, there's less people on election day, and thus like voting on election day is less risky for this year. That is the goal of this graphic. Um, so that's why I'm trying to invoke a curve. But yeah. Hi, Phoenix Raul. Welcome to the chat. Yeah, I would love to kind of like hear your discussion about so part of me also wonders like if because all of us are so used to seeing visualizations that we have like a preconceived notion of um yeah, like what a line means um because it's two discrete points right now that I'm trying to draw a line between um and yeah, but I think I sacrificed a little bit of the essentially the representation in favor of aesthetic and story. And the story is the kind of trying to mimic the flatten the curve. Um, show the in between in a kind of grayed out way. Well, actually, let me take a step back and ask you, um, do you think that um, if you have no preconceived notion of what a continuous line represents, um, then would you still get caught up on um, the continuity of those lines? Um, focus the eye on the two peaks. Show the in between in a kind of grayed out way. You mean like the in between, like here? But it really is that I think part of the thing I'm trying to invoke is kind of the curve. There is a curve, and the point is like what we're trying to say is like flatten it. Wait, so muted in between? Yeah, so that one is, this one, this big one is Maryland. And it's interesting that Maryland does so much more early voting. I haven't quite looked into why. I guess I'm still confused about what you mean by muting. Wait, hold on. I'm trying to find where. Oh, wait, hold on. So slope graph. So this, you mean like this part with, so in between it with saturated colors. I'm kind of confused. Oh, mute a little bit after the first peak. So after this one. Oh, interesting. Oh, I think I know what you mean now. So you mean something like, I would do it this way probably. Get lines and then and then so you mean something like that. I think it's an interesting idea. I feel like this discussion is like Yeah. I think the problem is that this is more like a initial design sort of problem. Like I feel like the problem is that if we're to really kind of like if we're to really kind of dig into that, the problem with the lines being continuous, I feel like this is an initial design question of like at this point, I don't think I can do anything um about those concerns now, given the way that the design is already. Um, I think it definitely should have been more of a at the very beginning consideration. But one of the things that we were talking about, because my husband raised the exact same concern about the continuous lines, is I think there is a difference in terms of, and you may or may not agree, but I think there is a difference in terms of like being very strict in how we represent something, if it's, in the context of your building like business analytics or, um, and then where you usually already have the attention of whoever you're building it for. And so you can kind of go with what is the strictest, most accurate representation. Um, and I think the interesting challenge with visualizing for a general public is balancing that um, accuracy and um, and essentially aesthetic because I don't have the luxury of anybody's attention, and so I have to find something that's like kind of that will grab someone's attention from an aesthetics perspective or from like a story perspective. And um and, and at no point am I saying like sacrifice accuracy, um but I think the question is this representation misleading if you have just a like what can I do to make this representation not misleading? Um, like, have I done enough to um, get across that it is two discrete points in time, and we are just mapping, we're just drawing a line between these two discrete points? Yeah, yeah. So I think. Wait, hold on. One problem for the flatten the curve idea is that you're giving equal space to early and one-day voting, but the actual argument is that early voting is better due to being more space. Now you give as much space to spread the votes to both sides, so putting votes in early votes doesn't actually flatten the curve very much. I'm not sure if we don't have data for dates before the last day. Just one big one that's before. No, 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 no. So, um, uh, no, what's happening? Okay. Um, so I think maybe is part of the confusion that we're saying because early voting is spread across multiple days that so this right now is normalized for and takes into account the number of days. Um, so this is the number of people at a polling station on a given day, as in this is literally normalized for approximately how crowded a polling station is on a given day. So yeah, so that's what this is. Like, it is taking into account the fact that early voting has more time. Um, but the reason why I didn't spread the early voting out, like the reason why I didn't make this into an actual like timeline x-axis is because early voting, the duration is different in every state. So some of them have like, 40 days for early voting, and some of them have like just like a week or something like that. And so I it would have been, so if you think about it, um if I had shown essentially like, the number of early voting days, and like if I had actually shown that on the x-axis versus election day, then it really would be this essentially the same curve, but then I guess different states would start at different places, which I think would be a very interesting graph. But it also would just be showing this exact same thing, but then just like elongated. Does that make sense? Because this number is um, oh, you mean like for some of these? No, I think a lot of these it's much flatter. Um, oh, I think I finally understand high altitude. It's that it is not flat for most states in 2018. Sorry, I think this is where the confusion is. I think I finally understand the confusion. I think um, at least I understand the confusion for high altitude, because I was saying flatten the curve, but this is, think of this as like the before curve. So this is like 2018. Yeah, I'm sorry. um, so it's so this is essentially the before. This is like historically how early voting versus election day has been, where most people vote election day, and so it is so that the peak is on election day. And so as we build up the story, and the story is going to be built up across like multiple slides, um, it's saying that like historically there has been a peak on election day. So this year, if you can, help by um, uh, flattening the curve this year. And so, yeah, this is kind of like the before. Um, and then I'm seeing that I have a network error. I don't know if, let me know if you can still see my video, because my OBS says that I'm still up, but then my Twitch says that I have a network. Okay, glad to hear. Yeah, thank you, Phoenix Rahul. Yeah, so early voting has, like, I can show you for early voting. So yeah, depending on the state, there's like a great variation in like how many days that it goes for. So some of them are like Minnesota gives 45 days, which is awesome. Um, Maryland, I guess that's why Maryland, yeah, Maryland only gives a week, which is kind of shocking. Oh wait, that's for 2016. We're looking at 2018. Um, yeah, so it ranges anywhere between 45 days to, wow, Oklahoma, 2 days for early voting. Well then. I think Maryland, ooh, that's actually a really great story, actually. So that actually is a great annotation because then um, I can explain why Maryland has such, like, was more quote unquote crowded during early voting because they only had 7 days. Um, and then some places like Minnesota and South Dakota, they have like 45 days of early voting. So that's actually, I'm really grateful that you pointed these out because it is exactly the things that I should be explaining to kind of curb the confusion. Um, so, for example, how should I say this? Voters. I should write number of voters at a polling station on a given day. 16. Well, so I think that's an interesting point you're making, high altitude. That um, for very short early voting periods, for states with short early voting periods, that they shouldn't be compared to those with over a month. Um, but it's not that I'm comparing states, but I think the comparison is valid because what we're trying to concentrate on isn't the duration. Um, it's not the duration of, so what we're trying to concentrate on is essentially how crowded is a polling station in that county or in that state. And so if a state has longer period of early voting, then it makes sense that their polling stations are less crowded during early voting because it gets spread out more, and that's really great. Whereas, like for states with shorter early voting periods, it also makes sense that they will have like more people at a crowd, or sorry, at a polling station on a given day because they just have less days to do early voting. Um, so I think it still actually makes sense from the story perspective of what we're trying to show um, is it more crowded or less crowded? It's not trying to be like, yeah, and that's why it's been normalized to be per day. And so it takes the duration part out too. So it kind of chucks out, and that's why it's okay. I think that's why, like, we can compare these states because I've chucked out the duration. Like I've normalized by duration too. And so I think the story here is interesting. I think down where the early voting, that part is quite low, that's either, yeah, hold on. Now I'm getting confused myself too. So when it's low, I do see your point. So because it's that we don't know if it's low because of um like adequate planning. Um mm, this takes a lot of thinking. Yeah. It's less a function of time. So Gillian says it's less a function of time than the number of voters, number of volunteers at the time voters showed up. Um, so it's that, yeah, we'll never know if the states down here is because of the fact that there were more polling stations or the fact that there were more time to early vote. Um, but I think the fact that, but I think that's still okay because what we're trying to show is that, even with all of those potential resources, um, there were just so much more people on election day. And I think that's what we're trying to show. Yeah. I think the story still makes sense. Um yeah, because the story is still that less people there were less people in a room during early voting for the same states than during election day. And the very fact that Maryland over here had more people in a room during early voting on a given day than election day. I don't know why that is, but I think the main thing isn't as much comparing. So I think the primary thing is comparing early voting to election day, and then the secondary thing is the states. Maryland is one of those 7-day states. But it's interesting, even though it was 7 days, because there's other states that were only 7 days. But it's interesting that even with like just being 7 days doesn't account for like how many more people early voted than during election day, right? So that is still very interesting. Of like, there's just a lot of kind of people trying to early vote in Maryland, and I wonder why. So others are Louisiana and Florida. And actually, Florida has 7, but Florida, so if you find Florida, so there's Maryland, Florida, and who was the last one with? Oklahoma. Oh, Oklahoma only had 2, and Louisiana. Oklahoma, Louisiana. Oh, I don't have data on Oklahoma. Okay. And Maryland. So, yeah, so it's less, it's like 3 different factors. The number of voters, the number of polling place sites, and the duration, because like each of these are 7 days. The duration is 7 days for early voting, but it's like very vastly different. So we don't know if that's because like even during the 7 days, you know, Louisiana and who was the last one? Louisiana and Florida. We don't know if it's because Louisiana and Florida had less people show up or if they had more polling stations than Maryland. It's I think this is a great conversation to have because I've been trying to figure out. So here's the thing. It's 3 factors. We have basically 3 numbers per like, so this one point incorporates 3 numbers: the number of voters, the number of polling places, and the number of days that early voting occurred. And so there's 3 numbers baked into this one point, and then there's 2 numbers baked into the election day point, and then that's happening for like 30 states. And so I'm trying to like take away as much of that complexity as possible when I'm presenting it this way. But I think it's that because you're so used to data and are like very inquisitive, that we're having this conversation. And so I think it's a balance of trying to figure out and also know that this is like only part of the story, right? So then it's a balance of presenting just enough information that like people that aren't so well versed with data wouldn't be confused, and then giving that information in detail in the methodology. So I still think that if I can just explain that in the annotation, I'm hoping that it will still yeah, it's like a balance between the underlying complexity and getting across just enough of it for the story. Mm, I don't know if I agree with that high altitude. That flat, the flattest curves are those where people simply don't vote. Um, at least not in the way that this is being shown, because these flat curves are that there were about the same number of people in a room during early voting and election day. So these are discrete variables on the x-axis. How do I describe this? Yeah, I think that's the biggest complexity that I'm struggling to explain, which is what Gilliam says, that the first peak shows a period of time. It's a duration of time, and the second peak is just election day. I am abstracting away a lot of complexity by putting early voting all into one single point. And I'll bet you the alternative, I think the alternative would actually be more confusing if I had actually made this into like a continuous, like if I expanded the early voting into the actual duration itself. Um, because I don't have a breakdown of the number of voters per day doing early voting. So I can only get the average for the early voting anyway. So then it would just be one extended. So it would just be these points, but then expanded. Maybe that's okay. This is. I'm gonna think about this more because I really was hoping to get this done and published like early afternoon. Um, but considering the number of like, it really is like a kind of, do I show that complexity or not? Like now that you understand it, it really is making a choice of, because what do I gain from sharing that complexity in such a bite-sized form? Like it's such a like a small bite-sized format that I'm delivering this story in. So the question is like, for the people that see it, like how many people would be confused over it? I don't know. Yeah. A ratio interval nominal ordinal. What? A ratio interval nominal ordinal. So the Y scale is a ratio. right? It is the number of voters at a polling station on a given day. So it's number of voters divided by the number of polling stations divided by the number of days. I think I do think that with that explanation, it makes sense. Um, I don't think this would get any better if I expanded the early voting into number of voters at a polling station per day. Number of voters at a polling station per day. I suppose the one thing is that if I do expand it, then some of these might look flatter. I mean, that is interesting. No, there is, especially for projects like these, there is a certain point where done is better than perfect. I'm going to acknowledge the potential confusion that this could bring, but then if there is confusion, then that is a great discussion. And all I can do is um, try and annotate it to the best of my ability to avoid that confusion. I acknowledge that early voting is a duration of time and election day is one day. Um, but then I think it's still, for me, I think it's still, the priority is abstracting away that complexity, and then kind of trying to present it in this like one form where at a glance you can kind of see what's happening. That is my hope. Um, and I don't think I have the time to go back and like add in and show that early voting is a duration. Yeah. And even if I did, I think all it's going to look like is basically this part being expanded. So I think the conclusion I'm coming to is um, I just need to annotate this well, and hmm? Oh, um, this is fun and painful both at the same time. Yeah, I mean, this is essentially visualization, right? Especially visualization for a general audience because um, general audience, you never know what their data literacy level is, and you never know how you'll get their attention or if you won't get their attention. So then you need to like have some amount of flashiness to get their attention, but then you can't sacrifice accuracy. Um, but then like, but then also, if you show too much of the complexity, then it might lose a lot of people. It's a very painful process. Um, yeah, but we are out of time for today. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to get this done in the afternoon and then get it out. That is the hope. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining today. And I will see you next Wednesday. I hope you have a great weekend. And yeah, see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.